Tampa Police Department, Pinellas County, Pasco County State Attorney's Office, and a special thanks to Mr. Bruce Bartlett and his team. During this operation, they wrote over 130 subpoena and issued 130 arrest warrants. In January of this year, the St. Petersburg Police Department started looking at what were the violent crimes in our city and what were the shootings that are occurring in our city. Our vice and narcotic units did a great job in looking and doing the detail, and it came back to one thing. The shootings that were occurring in our city were related to drug sales in our city. So after we saw that, we then reached out and started talking to the agencies in our area. And then we had a meeting in April, and all the agencies you see to my right, they all showed up to this meeting, and we talked about the issues that we saw here. We then formed a team to get together to see how we could reduce the violent crimes in the Tampa Bay area. So our first initial meeting was back in April. We went back to each individual agency, did some paperwork, and then we came back again in June. And we came up with a plan to go after these groups that were causing violent crimes in our Tampa Bay area. I'd like to say also give credit to a gentleman that helped us out, since they helped us out, but really talked about it, a businessman by the name of Mr. Goins. And he said, you know what, law enforcement needs to start acting like a business, knock down the walls and look at each other, and that's what we did. We took down the barrier. This wasn't St. Pete, Clearwater, Hillsborough County, Manatee. We saw the violent crimes here in the Tampa Bay area. And that's what we did. We started looking at that. We also looked at the shell casing that we recovered from several scenes, and we did what's called a NIBIN check. And NIBIN, just in case, stands for National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. And when we recovered casing from the scenes, we looked at where did these guns come back to and how do they match up. So as again, we looked at what we're going to do, and I know some of the sheriffs can be here that sit the representatives and police chiefs, but the first thing that came out of their mouth when we talked about it was, what can we do and how can we help? And everybody assigned someone to this. So I'm going to go to the chart to my left, will be to your right, and give you some background on it. So what we found out was that the shipment was coming from California. We arrested 2 Asian gentlemen that were coming from California and delivering narcotics to the Tampa Bay area, to Hillsborough County. And when I tell you a shipment, I mean a semi-truck trailer came in once a week with narcotics. Sometimes the semi-truck would make 2 loads a week. Wholesale value is about $1.8 million, street value about $3 million. So that's $3 million of narcotics coming into our city. So what do they do with this money? As you look to the far left, you will see the narcotics that was coming in. The people, the drug dealers locally would show up to the semi-truck trailers and load their cars with the marijuana. But it wasn't only just marijuana inside those vehicles. There was several different types of narcotics, and I'll talk about that later on. If you look to my far left, you'll see where we did a search warrant we conducted for the past 2 weeks, and we recovered several weapons. We recovered 14 guns. One of the guns we recovered, you see on the picture, there was an AR-15. We could connect that AR-15 to 2 shootings. One shooting we think occurred in Hillsborough County. We recovered the car here in St. Petersburg. The car had several shootings into it. Several rounds that were fired into it. That car was stolen. Also inside that car was a stolen license plate from Pasco County. We found a shell casing inside a vehicle that we could relate to the AR-15. To another case that we had was we found a house that here in St. Petersburg, we found 20 shell casings that was shot at a home. Those 20 shell casings came back to that AR-15. Patrol officers did an excellent job. They walked around the house and searched, and they could smell a strong smell of marijuana, but the owners of the house would not let us inside. So during the past 2 weeks, we conducted 6 search warrants. We arrested 26 suspects. For those search warrants, the following items were recovered. Approximately 1,800 pounds of marijuana, as I said earlier, 14 guns, one being an AR-15, $360,000, 7 pounds of liquid pyridine, which is codeine, and what that is what they would sell it for. You mix that in a drink, and it just gives you a sense of being numb. That was being sold. 42 grams of crack cocaine, 40 grams of powder cocaine, 5 grams of meth, 18 grams of heroin linked with fentanyl, 552 BU crystals, 1,054 grams of THC wax, 2 stolen vehicles, and 6 cars seized. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to FDLE. Mark?
Thank you, Chief. I'm Mark Brutnell with FDLE in Tampa. To the Chief's point, these agency heads here, we all met here back in April of 22. And as a group, we identified and then we subsequently targeted violent groups, organized criminal groups that are committing lots of acts of violence throughout the entire Bay Area. As the poster shows, these guys do not know jurisdictional boundaries. And the good thing is neither do we. But I think the real success in this case is the men and women and that investigative team behind the cameras. We had a plan. We had a theory of how to put things together. You guys put the rubber to the road and did an excellent job. This is an amazing case, a lot of hard work, great cooperation from our prosecutor, Mr. Bartlett. I can assure the public this is the first of many. In that original meeting, like I said, we targeted several groups. This is just the first, and there's more to come. And again, I want to thank the investigative team for great work. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Donna Lazinski with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to first thank Chief Holloway and the men and women of the St. Petersburg Police Department for spearheading this investigation, and thank our law enforcement partners that are here today. As everyone said, these individuals do not know boundaries. They do not know going across the bridge. They will go anywhere and everything to sell their drugs and commit their violent acts. So it's critical that we work together, which we did in this case seamlessly. And as we said, we identified, targeted, and took out this organization. And there will be more others that we will focus on and work to get them. People sometimes may say, well, this is just marijuana. Over half of our homicides in Hillsborough County are related to just marijuana. So it's the violence that is associated with these drugs and the people dealing them. And that's why we focus on them, to keep our community safe. And again, I thank the men and women who participated in this. They've worked tirelessly over months and months, and it couldn't be done without their work. Thank you, Chief.
Again, I just want to thank all our partners. Like I said, there is no boundaries here. We got local, state, and federal partners here. And the message we want to send out to the other people, if you're selling drugs, if you're committing violent crimes in the Tampa Bay area, we are coming with everything we have. With that, I'll open up for any questions.
Talk about just the scale of this operation and how many people were involved and the manpower.
Like I said, you had all the partners here. So you had federal, state, and local working on this. So you had the sheriff's office on both, Hillsborough, Manatee, and Pinellas working with the aviation unit. You had undercover detectives, men and women here, did an excellent job following these people, listening to the wiretaps, just doing everything we could do. We took them down, and again, the next person that think they're going to replace this group, we'll take you down also.
How long do you guys say this operation was going on here across the Bay Area?
Well, again, the St. Pete found out in January, and again, we got with our partners, so it could have been going on for months and months. We know for the past 8 months what they were doing, and we took them down. So again, someone's going to think they're going to replace this group. Well, guess what? We're ready.
I see that there's, the people that you've arrested are pretty young. Does this drug ring have anything to do with recent shootings involving teenagers across Hillsborough and Pinellas County?
Just like the Chief Deputy told you, I would say yes, because it's all linked to this. You're talking about they're making somewhere between $1 million to $3 million a week. People are going to fight over that for territory. Innocent people are going to get killed over this. So that's what our main goal was, to reduce the violence here in the Tampa Bay area. They're using their drugs to do their enterprise, and that creates violent crimes. There's probably other home invasions that we don't know about, because they're not going to call the law enforcement because I'm doing wrong, so therefore I'm not going to report this. But I know that you're selling drugs. So my thing is, I'm gonna take my group and I'm gonna rob you that day, I'm gonna shoot at you that day, I'm gonna try to steal something from you. So there are younger kids that are involved in this because they're trying to impress the older kids. There could be stolen cars involved in this, stolen guns. They're doing anything and everything to keep their criminal enterprise going here in the Tampa Bay area.
And what's your message to those young people who are getting involved in these drug rings about how this could really impact their lives?
We're telling them to not get involved in this, not to get involved in a violent crime, because people are getting killed, people are getting shot. There's other opportunities instead of getting involved in drugs.
Do you think that these can be gangs, or is that the right use of the word?
Yes, so the group that we arrested here in St. Pete, they are now certified gang members. I can't speak for Hillsborough County, but I think also some gang members.
We think we're working to certify those as well.
Do you know what gang it is?
It could be where they're from, so we'll say this is, have we got a name for this group yet? I want to make sure I don't use the wrong. I'll get it to you later on.
And for the people who were, going to this location or locations to meet them to purchase, the drugs, these dealers, just how many of them were you guys able to arrest again?
Right now, we have 26 that we have arrested. We're still looking for more. The people already know who we're looking for, so we suggest that they come to the St. Petersburg Police Department and turn themselves in, because if we don't get you today, we don't get you tomorrow, we're going to get you sooner or later. So you might as well just come on and turn yourself in.
When people involved in this maybe see these stories later on tonight, do you think that it's going to maybe scare them a little bit, maybe reduce the reduce the amount of violence we're seeing across the Tampa Bay area?
That's the message that we're trying to send out. We want to reduce the violence here in the Tampa Bay area, that this is not the answer. This will not be the answer. We in law enforcement and we as a community will not tolerate this. People are giving us tips. We're working off of those tips, and we're going to continue to eradicate our community of this violent crime.
Chief, could you sort of talk about this SUV that we have here that's completely loaded up? It looks like with marijuana. It looks like they were really filling, their vehicles up, trying to get as much, drugs into their cars.
So that's one of our cars. So exactly what they would do, they would meet the semi truck, offload their marijuana from the semi truck to the vehicles that showed up, and then take off, and then another vehicle would show up a couple hours later. They had a time, date, and schedule. So if you were supposed to be there at 10 o'clock, then you pick yours up at 10 o'clock, then I'll pick mine up at 11:30, and the next person will pick theirs up at 12. Again, go outside, picture a semi truck, and picture that thing being packed.
So they had appointments, I guess.
They had appointments.
Do we know if this marijuana is grown here, or it comes from another state? Where
The-
does the marijuana?
So I'm going to step away, so I apologize. So we know right now that it came from California. It ended up in Hillsborough. From Hillsborough, one shipment went to Pasco. The other shipment went to St. Pete and stayed in Hillsborough. From St. Pete, their distribution was Sarasota, Manatee, Clearwater, Lake Wells, and different places.
How often is it that you guys see or start investigating a drug ring this large?
I'm sorry, can you?
How often is it that you guys are involved in investigating a drug ring this large?
Whenever it came up, again, we weren't really looking for the drug ring. We were really trying to target the violent crime, and then we found out that the violent crimes was related to the drug ring, that's how they were supplying the people in the community.
Besides not knowing boundaries, what is like the criminal profile of these guys? Can you elaborate more on that?
Again, you have to look at their criminal history. A lot of them are arrested for sale and distribution of marijuana and other narcotics. Some are violent felonies that they have there. So they have a history, and that's what we're going after. We weren't going after the people on the street corner. We were going after the people that are causing harm to our community. These are the men and women that were destroying our community, or trying to destroy our community. Any other questions? Thank you very much.